She thought she was cleaning up the neighborhood, but she just violated a judge's order on camera. She didn't knock. She didn't ask. She just marched right up to my mailbox and started peeling things off like she was cleaning graffiti. But what she didn't know was those ugly stickers were protected by a federal judge. It was a quiet Saturday morning, just like any other in our little HOA control community. The sun was out, birds chirping, coffee in hand. I had just opened the blinds in my living room when I saw her. Karen, the self-appointed queen of cleanliness, the HOA president who treated neighborhood rules like the Ten Commandments, especially the ones she made up herself. She was on patrol. Every week, she picked a new house to nitpick. First, it was the neighbor's non-regulation bird feeder. Then it was someone's patriotic mailbox wrap. This week, apparently, it was my turn again. I watched from behind the curtain, keeping still, just observing. I didn't want a confrontation, not yet, but I had a feeling something was about to go down. She strutted down the sidewalk in her powder blue tracksuit, clipboard in one hand, oversized sunglasses on like she was some celebrity house inspector. She paused in front of my house. Then she did it. Without even hesitating, she walked straight up to my mailbox, looked around, then peeled off the red and black veteran-owned property sticker I'd placed months ago. The one I was legally authorized to have, due to my military service and the judge's ruling. She ripped it off like it was some nasty sticker on a kid's lunchbox. Then she walked to my front door, crouched down, and peeled off the ADA compliance label I'd placed there. It was a medical access notification, mandated by my doctor, confirming that I have a registered service dog and mobility limitations. It was meant to help emergency responders know there was someone inside who might need assistance. That one too gone. She moved next to my garage, where a third sticker was mounted just under the light. It simply read, "Medical equipment access required. Do not obstruct." That was my backup generator access port for my chair lift. I couldn't believe my eyes when she peeled that one off too, like it was nothing. She didn't even flinch. She looked proud of herself, tossed all three into a small plastic bag, like they were litter. Then she walked away smiling, as if she had just done some heroic deed. I was standing there inside my house, stunned, not angry yet, just in disbelief. Because here's what Karen didn't know. Those stickers, they weren't just decorative or optional. They were the result of a year-long legal process that ended with a signed judge's order giving me the right to place 3 federally and medically protected identifiers on my property, regardless of HOA aesthetic rules. Why? Because I'm a disabled veteran, and I don't just live here, I survive here. Those stickers weren't there for fun. They were there to inform EMTs, power workers, and even nosy neighbors that my house has conditions they must respect. Removing them was not just ignorant, it was dangerous. And now, Karen had broken the law. The worst part, she probably thought she was doing something good. She probably thought she was beautifying the block by removing what she called visual clutter. But in reality, she had just peeled off federally protected identifiers, the removal of which could put my life and my service animal's safety at risk in an emergency. I took a deep breath and checked the time. I had exactly what I needed: security footage from my front camera, documents from the court ruling, and now a very public act of discrimination caught on camera. She didn't just cross a line. She didn't just violate HOA policy. She violated civil rights law. And she was about to find out what happens when you treat legal protections like decorations. A lot of people think those stickers on my mailbox and door were just there for show, or maybe some leftover military pride. But the truth is, they weren't about looks at all. They were about survival. You see, 3 years ago, I came home from deployment with more than just memories. I had a spinal injury, a diagnosed anxiety disorder, and a need for ongoing support, not just emotionally, but physically. My world shrank fast. Simple things became complicated. And to stay independent, I had to make real adjustments to my daily life. That's when I was paired with Tank, my certified service dog. A quiet, alert Labrador who knows exactly when to step in and when to stand back. Tank helps me with mobility, alerts me when my meds are due, and keeps me calm in high-stress moments, like the kind HOA meetings that Karen runs like courtroom trials. my doctor and occupational therapist both told me the same thing. You need to have clear, visible identifiers outside your home. Emergency responders must know there's a medical need inside, a service animal, and access points that can't be blocked. So, I followed all the rules. I applied through the county's Veteran Support Program, submitted my documentation, met with ADA specialists, and attended 2 virtual hearings. Eventually, the county judge signed an official order that gave me legal exemption from any HOA regulation that interfered with my health, safety, or ADA rights. That included signage and access markers. The stickers were designed and issued by an official medical access vendor. One was for veteran identification, to let first responders know there could be special considerations inside. Another sticker was a red-on-white ADA notification, alerting emergency crews not to disable security systems or enter without support due to the presence of medical equipment. The third was an access request label that made sure no one parked in front of my emergency generator or blocked my ramp with HOA-planted hedges. Yes, they tried that once too. So no, the stickers weren't pretty. They weren't Instagram-worthy. They weren't subtle. But they were critical. Karen never liked them. She always had something to say. She once told me they made my house look institutional. Another time, she suggested I move them inside the storm door where they wouldn't be visible. I told her again and again that they were placed exactly where the law required, outside, unobstructed, and clearly visible. Still, she kept pushing. At the last HOA meeting before the incident, she even hinted that the board would vote to clean up signage violations. That's when I reminded her, calmly, politely, that my stickers weren't just legal, they were court-protected. She rolled her eyes and muttered, "We'll see about that." I guess seeing about that meant sneaking up on a disabled veteran's home on a Saturday morning and tearing them off with her own hands. But Karen didn't understand what she was really removing. She wasn't just peeling off a sticker. She was peeling off a medical warning. She was removing a visual cue that told responders that there might be equipment running inside, like a chairlift or a breathing monitor. She was stripping away a symbol of my earned status as a veteran who fought for the very freedoms she was now trampling on. That's why I didn't hesitate after I watched her do it. I printed the security footage, pulled out the judge's letter, and filed a formal HOA grievance, along with a complaint to the county ADA office. But I wasn't angry just for myself. I was angry for every vet, every person with a disability, every parent with a child who needs accommodations, who's ever been told by someone like Karen that their needs are too visible, too ugly, or too disruptive to the neighborhood vibe. Because when you live with something invisible, like pain, trauma, or anxiety, those little visible things, they're the only clues the outside world has. They're not a decoration. They're a signal, a lifeline, and no HOA president gets to take that away, just because she doesn't like the color red. I didn't sleep much the night after Karen tore off my stickers. Not because I was scared, because I was angry. Really angry. Not the kind of anger that makes you shout or slam doors. No, this was the quiet kind. The kind that simmers just under the surface. The kind of anger that comes from being disrespected not once, but over and over, until you can't ignore it anymore. That Sunday, I didn't mow the lawn. I didn't walk tank. I sat at my kitchen table with a manila folder and gathered everything I'd need. Printed screenshots from my security footage. A certified copy of the judge's ruling that gave me sticker protection under ADA and veteran rights. HOA bylaws highlighted. A written statement of what happened, timed down to the minute. And a flash drive, just in case anyone wanted to watch Karen in full HD tearing federal rights off a mailbox. I showed up at the monthly HOA board meeting 10 minutes early. The room already had that thick, tense air, the kind that builds when someone powerful knows their control is slipping. Karen sat at the head of the table in her signature beige blazer, holding her clipboard like it was a crown. A couple board members made awkward eye contact with me. They knew something was coming. They just didn't know what. She smiled as I took my seat. "Ms. Daniels," she said, fake-friendly. "We'll begin shortly. I hope you came prepared." I smiled right back. Oh, I did. The meeting began with the usual nonsense, budget items, Landscaping complaints. A 10-minute argument about someone's flower bed being 2 inches too wide. I waited patiently, listening, letting her feel in control, until she got to aesthetic improvements. Karen cleared her throat. We're making progress on neighborhood signage violations. Some residents are displaying unapproved decals, labels, or stickers, particularly on doors, garages, and mailboxes. This reduces the visual harmony of our community. She looked right at me when she said it. Smug, confident. I'd like to propose a new resolution that prohibits exterior stickers of any kind unless pre-approved by the HOA board. That was my cue. I stood up, calmly, pulled the folder from my bag, and placed a copy of the court ruling in front of every board member at the table. Then I took out the still image of Karen, caught in crystal-clear daylight, her manicured hand ripping my veteran-owned property sticker off my mailbox. The room fell silent. Before anyone votes on anything, I said, you should be aware that Mrs. Karen Schultz, I used her full name on purpose, knowingly removed ADA-protected and court-approved signage from my home on Saturday morning at 9:43 a.m. I clicked the flash drive into the meeting room laptop. There she was, projected on the screen, peeling each sticker off like a kid vandalizing a locker. No sound needed. The visuals said it all. These stickers are not decorative. They are part of a legal exemption, issued by a county judge under the Americans with Disabilities Act and the county's Emergency Veterans Directive. Karen didn't just ignore HOA boundaries. She broke federal law. Karen's face flushed a deep, blotchy red. She fumbled with her papers. I thought they were just unapproved signs. No one told me they were special. I held up the highlighted court letter. You were told. Twice. In writing. And at last month's meeting. One of the board members cleared his throat. I think we need legal counsel present before discussing this any further. Karen tried to recover her authority. Let's not overreact. This isn't about discrimination. This is just about consistency. I leaned forward, calm but firm. Consistency is not a defense when it violates disability law. You didn't just remove a sticker. You endangered my ability to communicate a medical emergency. The board went quiet. Karen tried to speak again, but no one was listening anymore. The rest of the agenda was skipped. The meeting was adjourned early. And as people packed up, 2 board members came up to me and quietly said, "Thank you." That needed to be said. I nodded, but I wasn't done. That night, I sent everything to the county ADA compliance office, my attorney, and the local judge who had signed the exemption. Karen thought that boardroom was the end of it, but for her, it was just the beginning. Karen thought it would all die down, that after the HOA meeting, I'd let it go. But the truth was, I was just getting started. The moment I walked out of that boardroom, I sent every piece of evidence to the ADA compliance office, the county veteran affairs office, and most importantly, the judge who had signed the original ruling allowing me to place the stickers in the first place. It didn't take long. 3 days later, I received a call from the court clerk. "Mr. Daniels, Judge Harmon has reviewed your complaint and would like to schedule an emergency hearing. Are you available next Thursday at 10 a.m.? Available? I was already picking out my shirt. The courtroom was small, but the tension inside it was massive. Karen arrived wearing a gray blazer and sunglasses she didn't take off until she sat down. Her HOA attorney, a young guy who looked fresh out of law school, carried a folder that looked far too thin to matter. I brought everything, my documents, printed evidence, and a written statement. I didn't bring a lawyer. I didn't need one. The truth was on my side. Judge Harmon walked in and went straight to the point. This case involves a violation of a previous exemption order related to ADA compliance and veteran rights. Mr. Daniels, please begin. I stood, calm but confident, and walked the judge through it all. My original injury and service-connected disability. My certified service dog, Tank. The need for medical signage as part of ADA-mandated access visibility. The stickers, legally approved, placed exactly as required. And finally, the security footage of Karen tearing them off. I handed the judge a printed still and offered the USB drive again. He waved it off. "I've already reviewed the footage. Very clear. Thank you." Then it was Karen's turn. She tried to make it sound innocent, like a misunderstanding. Your Honor, I just thought the signs were unapproved. I had no idea they were protected. They looked like, well, DIY decals. The judge looked unimpressed. Mrs. Schultz, are you telling this court that you removed clearly labeled ADA and veteran indicators without asking the homeowner, despite being made aware of a court exemption the month prior? Karen hesitated. I may not have fully read the document. That was it. The judge leaned forward. You didn't need to read it, Mrs. Schultz. You needed to respect it. What you did wasn't just a violation of HOA ethics. It was a legal breach of both the Americans with Disabilities Act and a court-issued order. Karen's lawyer tried to cut in. Your Honor, we're requesting leniency. Mrs. Schultz has no prior offenses and was acting in her official HOA capacity. Judge Harmon didn't budge. Acting in a position of power does not give you the right to strip legal protections from a disabled veteran's home. Your client's actions could have resulted in harm had there been an emergency. This court takes that very seriously. You could feel the oxygen drain out of the room. Then came the ruling. Effective immediately, the HOA is to issue a formal written apology to Mr. Daniels. The removed signage must be reinstated and provided at the HOA's expense. Furthermore, the entire HOA board, including Mrs. Schultz, will undergo mandatory ADA and veteran rights compliance training. And then came the line I'll never forget. Mrs. Schultz, your actions were not just inappropriate. They were illegal. For the next 6 months, you are suspended from all HOA activities, including meetings, enforcement, and decision-making power. Karen looked stunned. She opened her mouth to object, but her lawyer gently tapped her arm and shook his head. It was over. I walked out of that courtroom taller than I'd felt in years, not because I'd won a petty fight, but because I stood up for myself, for others like me, and for the principle that dignity isn't optional. That stickers can save lives. That ADA protections aren't suggestions, they're federal law. Karen left the building in silence. No clipboard, no sunglasses, just the realization that she had picked the wrong battle with the wrong person, and now she had to answer for it. The morning after the court ruling, I opened my front door to find a small, official-looking envelope on my welcome mat. HOA letterhead, Karen's signature at the bottom. It wasn't handwritten. It wasn't heartfelt, but it was there. We acknowledge the removal of your ADA and veteran-designated signage was both inappropriate and unlawful. We apologize for the distress this caused and recognize your legal exemption moving forward. Was it genuine? Probably not. Was it satisfying? Absolutely. But that wasn't even the best part. 2 days later, I received a package, priority mail. Inside were 3 brand-new laminated stickers, issued by the county, complete with an embossed seal from the judge's office. They were weatherproof, clearly marked, and practically glowing with legal protection. I put them up immediately. One on the mailbox, one by the front door, and one beside the garage access panel. This time, I added something new, a small silver sticker at the bottom that read, Protected under court order #5481V. Tampering is a federal violation. And just above my doorbell, a tiny camera, watching silently. Not for revenge, just as a reminder that some rights don't need to shout, they just need to be seen. The news didn't stay quiet. Local papers picked up the story after the ADA Compliance Office issued a bulletin to HOAs in the district. A reporter called me for comment. I didn't give a speech. I just said, accessibility is not decoration, it's survival. And that quote, it made the front page of our local Sunday paper. Suddenly, neighbors I barely knew started stopping by. One woman brought over cookies and said her father had been a Vietnam vet, and she was sorry for not speaking up sooner. Another neighbor, who had always looked down whenever Karen passed, asked where he could get a sticker for his child's medical condition. I wasn't just the guy with the ugly stickers anymore. I was the one who took on the HOA president and won. Prohibited Karen was. Quiet Karen disappeared from the spotlight overnight. No more clipboard. No more patrols. She started attending HOA meetings via Zoom. Camera off, mic muted. For 6 months, she had no power, no votes, no say in who got fined, who got warned, who got told to trim their bushes just so. Her control? Gone. She passed me once while walking her dog. No eye contact. Just a quick, guilty glance at the stickers on my mailbox. Funny how she never mentioned aesthetics again. But for me, this was never about winning. It was about being seen. About reminding people that veterans, disabled folks, people with invisible struggles, we don't always fight with words. Sometimes we fight with paperwork, camera footage, and patience that shouldn't even be necessary. This wasn't just about Karen. It was about what happens when control crosses into cruelty. When someone thinks they can decide who gets to be comfortable in their own home and who doesn't. In the end, the sticker stayed up, not just because of the court ruling, but because I fought for the right to say, "This is my home, my story, my survival. You don't get to erase that." So yeah, Karen peeled off my stickers thinking she was fixing the neighborhood. What she really did was tear down her own credibility. She thought it was just another Saturday patrol. She didn't realize she was about to be the subject of a court hearing, a neighborhood reckoning, and a very public lesson in what happens when you mess with the wrong veteran. Bell like this video if you believe ADA rights and veteran protections aren't optional, and subscribe for more real stories about standing up to HOA bullies.